What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? DoctorDDub here, and welcome back to yet another FarmFolks update. It's been a while since we've heard anything concrete from Overgrown Studios about the game, but just moments ago, they released an exciting update providing a concrete answer to the ever-popular question, will there be combat in FarmFolks? Today, we answer that question. I won't toy with your emotions and dance around the question. The simple answer is this: FarmFolks will not have combat. Here's why. Ever since the beginning, FarmFolks was conceptualized as a spiritual successor to the original Natsume Harvest Moon series. Since 1996, Natsume has released 38 different Harvest Moon titles, only one of which featured combat. Instead, they focused on the farming and community aspects of the games, as well as the worlds themselves. Seeing as how FarmFolks is being made to honor this feel of the game and focus on similar aspects, it just doesn't make sense to add combat and potentially detract from those gameplay elements. I know there are a lot of people out there that were hoping to see combat in FarmFolks. I was originally one of them, but I've since been converted. Let me explain why. With the popularity of Stardew Valley really solidifying farming simulators as a viable genre across all platforms, PC, console, and now even mobile, people have come to see combat in farming sims as the norm. However, it's hard to deny that the focus on combat could potentially, at times, take away from the farming and community aspects of the game. In Stardew Valley, I'm personally guilty on multiple occasions of not tending to my animals or talking to a single villager so that I could head off to Skull Cavern for the entire day and fight off monsters in the hopes of finding some iridium. I'm sure several of you can relate. Not to mention, as was stated in the original community discussion about combat in FarmFolks, implementing combat would take a lot of time and resources from the developers. Monsters and weapons would have to be conceptualized and created, each with their own sound effects and animations. AI would have to be implemented for the monsters, a progression system for combat would have to be implemented as well, etc. In short, it would be a lot of time and effort that can now be spent enhancing the core farming experience of the game. Okay, time for my favorite part of this update. Although combat will be absent from the game, both Overgrown Studios and the amazing community being created around the game have gone back and forth for quite some time, suggesting and discussing ways to fill that void that players might feel without the inclusion of combat. As a result of those discussions, the devs have decided to include, and I quote, a light version of hunting and trapping to solve several of our posed problems. Now, what are these posed problems, you might be asking? That's a really good question. Firstly, without this system in place, wild animals would serve no purpose other than set dressing. Instead of cute animals running around the island doing nothing but that, being cute, they now serve a purpose. Secondly, it provides an activity that can add some variation to your daily routine, breaking up the repetition of tending to and caring for your crops and animals, and more importantly, in my opinion, it provides an avenue for which we can acquire various different meats. It has already been stated that we will have the ability to cook, and that not all the dishes will be vegetarian, which is something I honestly haven't seen before. I've never really given it much thought, but in Stardew Valley, with the exception of fish, every single cooked dish is vegetarian. Think on that for a sec. In FarmFolks, we'll be able to cook recipes that require meat as an ingredient, and since it has already been stated in the interview I did with Julie, FarmFolks community manager, that a butchery system will not be in the game, this hunting and trapping appears to be how we will go about acquiring those various meats. Lastly, the update ends by acknowledging that some players will be upset by the decision not to include combat, but asks for us to trust them, the developers, to make a fun and relaxing farming sim for us all. Okay, that does it for the official update. It's linked in the description if you'd like to go read it for yourself. I'm honestly really excited about this though. As I've said many times before, I grew up playing Harvest Moon. It was my get home from school and play until I got yelled at by my mom to do homework or come and eat dinner game when I was in elementary and middle school. So to hear that Overgrown is holding their ground and staying true to the Harvest Moon successor that they set out to create makes me really happy to hear. Alright though, ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the end of this video. Thank you very much for watching. If you have any questions or comments about combat, leave them in the comments section below, as I'd love to hear your thoughts on this matter. I'll keep you guys up to date on all things FarmFolks moving forwards, but until then, as always, take care.